Hey, it's Don Skaggs again for Empowered Inventing, where we try to help you help other people by taking your great innovation, the right opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom to turn them into real things like products and businesses. Now today, I want to talk to you about my thoughts on what's going on with the Patent Office and this thing called PTAB. And actually, let me back up a little bit here, and because a few months ago I had the opportunity once again to actually go to Washington D.C. with a lot of other inventor group leaders like myself from across the country, and we all got to go to D.C. and we all got to go to we were on Capitol Hill and we were representing the small independent inventors around the country, just letting them know that you guys are out there and we're there to support you, and we want them to support you as well. So and there's a lot of really good work out there that's being done by an organization called US Inventor. If you want to find out more about it, you can go to usinventor.org. Josh Malone's very involved with this. If you don't know who Josh is, and several other really good people too, by the way. Let me tell you a little bit about the story of Josh Malone, because this kind of tells a lot of this story about the Patent Office and what's going on right now. And Josh is the inventor of a product called Bunch of Balloons. If you've not seen it on TV, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under, but it's been all over TV. It's been advertised. You can see it in stores. But it's this really cool thing where you can fill up like 50 water balloons all at one time with one garden hose, all at the same time. So really cool product. Very successful product. And what happens when you're very successful sometimes is then you get the attention of people, of unscrupulous businesses and companies that want to knock you off. And that's exactly what happened to Josh. I want to say one of the stories I heard was they actually painted some of the balloons out of his product, painted them different colors and put them in their commercials. It was that blatant of a ripoff. So anyway, I don't know, I don't have verification on that story, but I just thought it was interesting and worth noting that people will do very unscrupulous things with your product, and that's a danger and that's a risk, and that is a big part of what I want to talk to you about today. Because the bad news is, and this is what happened with Josh. Now Josh was very successful, and because he was very successful, he had the ability to fight this. And what happened is they tried to drag him in. First, they tried to do the whole court thing, I think. But there's this new thing that the Patent Office had come out with relatively recently called the PTAB. And it's this tribunal of 3 judges that you go in, and so there's no judge, no real judge, there's no real jury. It's just 3 so-called experts that get to decide whether your patent is really valid or not. And the large companies, the big companies out there that want to infringe on small inventors, have been taking advantage of this system by dragging you into this PTAB and saying, nope, their patent isn't valid because of this, and they'll find some nuanced things. And inventors were getting their patents invalidated. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary out there called Invalidated that features Josh. You can look it up. It's streaming out there. I think Amazon Prime right now. But anyway, so this is what was going on with Josh. Now, long story short, Josh fought hard, and Josh won. And that's a wonderful story in the end about how he won. And one of the things Josh is doing now, and I just think this is just fantastic, is he is moved to DC, and he is now helping to change how they're doing things at the Patent Office, how the laws that are on the books. So there's a lot of work with lawmakers in DC. And I think Josh's work is really starting to pay off. I think the Patent Office is certainly, there's been a lot of changes there, and we've seen them really have our attention. We actually met as inventor leaders with the PTAB, and we let them know in no uncertain terms that you guys have rights and you guys don't need your rights trampled on. And I highly support Josh, what Josh is doing. I think he's great. If you'd like to help support him, yeah, I'd encourage you to do so as well. Again, usinventor.org. Now, all that being said, how does that affect you as an independent inventor getting started in your struggle to become successful like Josh? Because Josh was, you know, for all the bad stuff that happened, he was successful. It wasn't like it flopped. The product did not flop. Because if it had flopped, he wouldn't have been having these problems. And that kind of takes me around to what this problem is. And this is what I would call a successful inventor's problem. It's a problem that you don't see and don't have until you're successful. Because I have so many inventors and entrepreneurs, and they're so scared, and they're paralyzed already. They're afraid somebody's going to steal their idea. But now they've got this, oh, well, if I'm successful, I'll be like Josh, and I won't have the resources Josh has, and I'll just get squashed like a bug. Why should I even try to do this? I don't want you to feel that way, because you shouldn't feel that way. And here's the thing about it. Patents, contracts, laws on the books, because laws are going to come, they're going to go, they're going to change. No matter what is out there, it's not going to keep bad people from doing bad things. I've said this a million times in a lot of the classes and probably in some other videos as well. But I think of patents as a lock you put on your door. It's property rights. You've got, you know, your property deed and your property rights. So you have a right to put that lock on the door. And you could spend tens of thousands of dollars on the most sophisticated security system for your home and just have it locked down like Fort Knox. Or you could take a chair and just shove it up underneath the doorknob and say, hey, that's the best I can do, but at least I'm making a try to keep people from breaking in. No matter which one you've done, if somebody wants your stuff bad enough and has a bulldozer big enough, they can come knock down one of your walls, come in, steal all your stuff. It's not going to prevent bad people from doing bad things. This is a risk that inventors and entrepreneurs have to live with. Now, can you mitigate those risks? Should you fight those things like Josh does? Sure. But don't let it drive your decisions. And this is probably my main point with this whole thing, my whole take on PTAB and what's going on with the patent office and the laws and all of this. And that's that don't obsess on this one thing and let it paralyze you. And don't ever, and you've heard me say this a lot before because this is a very important point, do not ever let fear drive your decisions. Because this is what I'll see happen with inventors, is they'll let fear just paralyze them. And they'll say, well, I'm so scared that I'm going to get knocked off. Yeah, if you're successful, guess what? I was successful and people tried to copy with me. And I was in a niche industry. I was in some little industry subset of the medical industry, but still, I had people that were trying to copy, and I had patents, I had trademarks, I had all this stuff. I remember going to a trade show one time, and the literature literally looked like mine, except they just kind of moved a few words around. I mean, the format, they didn't even take a lot of effort to make their own thing unique. But we had people try to rip us off. We had people, now one of the cool things about what we had is they were trying to copy us, but they never could figure out exactly the seasoning we had in our formulations, the whole, as an old chemist told me one time, he said, if you leave the salt and pepper out, nobody can figure out how it really is supposed to taste. So if you leave the salt and pepper out of the formula. So anyway, what it is people still trying to copy, will try to copy you if you're successful. Every successful product I've had, people have wanted to try to copy. And, in a little way, I'm kind of flattered. I don't want to get ripped off. I don't want that to happen. But I didn't let fear of that happening keep me from pushing on and moving on and actually becoming successful. I saw a very interesting interview, probably just the day after, and it was actually at the patent office. It was a meeting there, and there was three very successful inventor entrepreneurs that were there, and they were taking questions from the audience. And we had just come off this whole PTAB thing, so a lot of people were just kind of, they were a little, how do you deal with this? What happens when people try to rip you off? And they were raising their hand and asking that question. And they all kind of had the same answer. And I had to kind of grin to myself and think, yeah, that's how you deal with it in today's world. And that they're like, yeah, I've got people on Amazon out of China trying to rip me off right now. I've got XYZ products. Now, have they done things to try to mitigate that risk? Yes. Have they tried to fight it where they can, how they can? Yeah. But there are other playing fields other than the courtroom and other than the PTAB or even your patent itself that you can fight on that can help to protect you. Now, number one, just be prepared to roll with it, because if you're going to be successful, there's going to be people that's going to want to copy you. It's going to happen. But don't let fear of getting knocked off keep you from moving forward, because that's what will stop you. That's what will hurt you much more than ever getting ripped off. I think of the story about the Snuggie and the Slanket. If you've watched many of these or you've been to any of our classes, you've probably heard this sometimes before. The Snuggie came out there, had absolutely or the Slanket came out there. Before the Snuggie, there was a product called the Slanket. And the Snuggie came out as a college kid. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but it was this college kid. He came out with this product, and it was basically the original Snuggie, because it would look just like the Snuggie. Well, he didn't have any protection. He didn't file a provision. He didn't do any of that. He just went out to the market with it, and he did really well. He was doing $20 million a year. And I think before I said $2 million, and I think I left a zero off on this, but I looked back at the notes, and it's actually $20 million is what he was doing a year. Well, lo and behold, the Snuggie sees it. People that did the Snuggie before there was a Snuggie, and they said, "This is a really cool product. We could sell a heck out of this. Let's go for it." They did $200 million. Now, did he kind of get copied and ripped off? Yeah. Are they both destitute? No. One's doing 20, one's doing 200. Now, maybe the kid that's came out with the Slanket could have done better. Maybe he could have advertised more. Maybe it was an advertising thing. I don't know. But what I'm saying is this: if he'd have been too afraid to even try to do it, he would have never got $20 million a year. I think $20 million is okay. Just because he didn't get the $200 million, yeah, you could. I think he should have filed something. Maybe he could have fought it later. Maybe he could have done a licensing deal. Maybe he'd have got more money. But that's notwithstanding. My point is, if he had taken fear, if he'd have let fear drive him, fear of, oh, if I do this and I make $20 million, why, somebody will rip me off and make 200. Well, how awful. So I won't do it at all. And then he has nothing. You see what I'm saying? You can't let fear do it. One of the biggest factors I've seen with inventors is this failure by fear, paralysis, what eventually becomes total inaction, because they're afraid. If you fight, they're afraid of getting up and fighting. They're afraid of doing anything. They're afraid of something bad happening. So you fight this fight by having an action plan and then acting on it, and you act on it on a schedule. Yes, definitely. Contact your congressman. Get involved. Help Josh and stand up for the rights of the independent inventor, because he's fighting for you. Again, usinventor.org is a great organization. But keep in mind that laser focus that you have to become successful and have that right strategy so you can fight and win in the marketplace. And then if you need to fight later or something else, you can do that. But you can't get there until you fight and not let fear drive you. So anyway, I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and share this with someone else you think it might help. And I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online classes, or on the next video.